Capriotto, the Service Aftermarket's podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and RemarkableResults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, welcome. Carm Capriotto, Remarkable Results Radio, and another Town Hall Academy. Wait till you see this group that I have with me. This is going to be one of the most fun episodes of 2024. I just feel it. But before we get into the real meat of the matter, we want to thank our great sponsors who we love to have on the show. Let's face it, your shop management system is the most critical tool in your shop. NAPA Tracks will move your shop into the SMS fast lane with on-site training and 6-day-a-week support. Also, most importantly, local representation. Find NAPA Tracks on the web at NAPA-TRACS.com. You know, AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching will help your shop go from surviving to thriving. From financial insights to operational excellence, make your shop into a well-oiled machine. AutoShopCoaching.com. And ready to optimize training with today's class? In just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. All right, now check out this crew. Look at this crew. Oh my God.
The bearded and the beardless.
The bane of Tracy's existence. Matt Fanslow, welcome, sir.
Well, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. Manager, Riverside, Automotive, Red Wing, Minnesota, and Diagnosing the Aftermarket podcast, A-to-Z. And trainer, Justin Morgan's here, LMV Bavarian. I've been practicing that because I can never say it right. Technical support and trainer for LMV Bavarian, ASE-Wave technical ambassador and trainer. Tracy's other headache. I just read that. Oh my God. Bryan Pollock, the guy of Wilco Auto Care, Sanborn and Lockport, New York, technology specialist. Good to have you here. You're probably, 50 miles away from where I am?
Not very far. Where are you at? I'm Springville? Yeah, probably about 50, 60 miles.
Yeah. And Tracy Capriotto, my right-hand producer, director of content for the Aftermarket Radio Network and Remarkable Results Radio. Hello, Tracy, my daughter.
Hi, Dad.
Daughter?
Good to be here.
Yeah. We have to say
I may
that.
be introducing her wrong to people.
I know. That was a problem we have been living with until it was Vision this year. She goes, Dad, you just have to introduce me as your daughter. After you say, this is Tracy, you have to say my daughter. Too many people
My word
thought.
Against theirs. So
Yeah, I know. Too many people thought. Anyway, here's what we're going to talk about. Matt has always whispered in my ear for the last couple of years, Carm, we've got to take some of the stuff we see on social media, confirm or debunk it. And so I found this 15 slide, and I can't remember where I found it. And it was basically called, let me see if I could call this up, 15 car maintenance ripoffs you should avoid. And I looked at that and I sent it around the world and I says, something's wrong here. I'm not sure we're talking about professionals that could be talking about this. And I said to Matt, let's get Justin and Bryan to come on and let's talk about this stuff. And listen, we're not here to change the world. We're here to say that I think we have to worry about the kind of consumers that walk into our place. They just walk in. You know, we have to help them understand some of the stuff that they're looking at, they're reading, they're hearing about. When we say you got to do this, and in the back of their mind, they're thinking something else because there is an influencer that is out there with their, if you will, toast of the day to help people realize, hey, I'm an automotive service repair guru, and you got to follow this stuff. And there's a lot of holes in these slides, and I don't mean to debunk anyone who created this, but we've got professionals on here, and we want to talk about these. So, are you guys and lady ready?
Ready.
Let's do this. So I'm going to go here to the first of all of our slides, and it's about engine flushes for well-maintained vehicles. It says, although beneficial, they are usually not required for cars that receive regular lube jobs. These detoxes can dislodge debris, causing more harm than good. Opt for a routine car care schedule instead of this costly and potentially damaging purchase. And what you say, gang?
The problem is it's a very generic term. There's stuff that does work properly, and there's a lot of stuff that does nothing or
You mean
does
like
damage.
kerosene?
Put a quart of tranny fluid in there, son. Well, there's stuff that does work, and then there's stuff that is absolutely with modern vehicles. And that's the other issue too, right? There's stuff that did work many years ago, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really work that great.
You have another issue with definitions, right?
Yeah.
What is well maintained? What does that mean?
Yeah, maintain per the manufacturer's schedule, or maintain like I maintain my truck, where the oil gets swapped way before it needs to.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of manufacturers that have these really extended oil change intervals or
Sure.
maintenance intervals that are trying to lower the cost of ownership for those buying them brand new. They're not doing it because the engines are so great, the oils are so great, which, don't get me wrong, the quality of the engines and the quality of the oils has increased significantly.
Absolutely.
But I don't know about 10, 12, 15,000 miles.
No.
And so therefore, even if you're following the manufacturer's recommended service interval, it may not really be well maintained, and therefore flush is almost required, or you're just going to get a bunch of cam crank correlation codes or DPT type.
Or oil consumption from...
good one.
Oh, yeah, because we don't have any ring problems with any manufacturer anymore, right? We don't have any stuck ring problems.
I have a shadow following me around, and I told him the rule is in this shop, every vehicle with a 4-cylinder engine must have the dipstick pulled, because every 4-cylinder out there eats oil.
Correct.
Doesn't matter where it was made, who made it, whatever. He knows that's the rule. If it's got a little 4-cylinder in it, the dipstick comes out. If it's there for wipers in the parking lot, you take a rag with you and you pull the dipstick.
Yeah,
that's the rule.
I'm glad that we're discussing what well maintained is, because that's the biggest issue, right? Matt nailed it. That those manufacturer guidelines are not necessarily for the longevity of the engine or the vehicle. No. They are simply to get it a better customer score on Consumer Reports.
Yep.
And to lower that cost of maintenance is how they do that, right? So you get big points if it only cost you $1,000 to maintain the car a year. But if you plan on keeping the car outside of the warranty, which it seems like all the manufacturers' warranties are getting shorter and shorter here lately, unless there's a class action lawsuit, but then they go back.
It goes like 10 years.
Yeah. Or more.
I would say if it is properly maintained, as to what I think all three of us would agree, which is the same thing we've always lived by. The oils may be better, the engines may be better, but I don't recall seeing an engine that has an oversized oil filter on it, and there's only so much filtering that can happen. So you still got a service. I mean, if they're telling you 10, probably 5.
On this truck, it really doesn't matter because I'm way ahead of time on the maintenance, because it's a diesel engine. My last truck was a 2019 Super Duty with a gasoline engine. And I took one of the oils that sold a very heavy marketing campaign, sponsors a lot of NASCAR, probably the most well-known oil to the non-educated consumer, as far as being, this is the top tier synthetic oil, right? And I ran it in the summer. You know which one. It's got nice fancy packaging, silver, real nice oil, supposedly. Yep. I ran it in my truck one summer, and I had a little mix of a little bit of towing. I don't know, probably about 1,000 miles of towing and 3,000-ish miles of driving. It was 4,300 miles. I sent that stuff to Blackstone Labs. They're like, yeah, this stuff is done, buddy. 4,300 miles. The premier, if you went out to the uneducated, non-techie type consumer, they're going to recognize this brand name as the premium synthetic oil to run in your vehicle. That just gives you an example of what is maintained, what is well maintained, right?
Yep.
And that truck running that super nice oil at 4,500 miles, it was done. That wasn't even well maintained at 4,500 mile oil change interval. I'm sure the factory interval is 5 or 6 or something on that thing. I don't know what it was. Yeah, I don't know what it was.
The word is conditional. Everything is conditional. Everybody runs their vehicle differently. They're maintained differently. There's different qualities of oil. To your point, you're thinking, Brian, that you're going to put the best in it and it's going to do its job. Remember back in the day, it used to go for 25,000, I think, but it's all conditional. Let's go to the next slide, because this one is kind of very interesting about air filter replacements at every oil change. Replacing your air filter, it says, with every oil change is unnecessary for most vehicles. Modern cars can no longer go between swaps without compromising efficiency. Check your owner's manual for an advised schedule on air filter replacement. What say you?
What does the owner's manual know about what's in the air?
Yeah, that's number one.
What?
Number two is, can we go back to define what the oil change interval is? Because nobody has the same oil change interval. This isn't the 70s and the 80s where all the cars are 3 or 3,500 miles. I mean, I've worked on cars that from the factory, 15,500 was the oil change maintenance. You mean to tell me it doesn't need an air filter every oil change at that?
Right. Absolutely.
But Brian's got the nail on the head. Environmental.
Yeah,
I don't know what
totally
environmental is.
Totally environmental. You think we have the same, if somebody comes to our shop from the city of Niagara Falls, do you think that their air filter maintenance is the same as one of the farm trucks up in Sanborn? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's bizarre. Check your owner's manual. The owner's manual doesn't know.
Matt, I think you have a similar situation to what I have down here, although yours is cottonwood trees and mine is pollen of all kinds.
Yeah, I don't know that we get pollen quite on the same scale you do, but we definitely get that. We get a lot of cottonwood, and then just we're in a farming area. This year has been a little more wet, so not quite as dusty, but last year it was really dusty when they're cultivating and planting and all that. You could tell in the air filters, you could tell in the condensers, which I know is not part of that slide, but we have a lot of gravel roads in rural Minnesota. We have a lot of gravel roads, and there's a lot of states that have dirt roads. Contributes to it. If you live on a gravel road, you have to travel on gravel and it's dry. You might need an air filter every oil change. It's just the way it is. It has nothing to do with modern vehicles.
Absolutely. 100%.
Here in the Northeast, guys, they're sandblasting the bridges, Brian. I don't know if you've seen that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They do a
What's
great
going to hold them up?
They do a great job of vacuuming that sand that they're using, but I guarantee you it's in the air and it's going inside of our air filters and cabin air filters.
Is that what's happened in Baltimore?
That's Matt. Oh my gosh, that's so funny you said that about the sandblasting. What's going to hold them up? Like there was one up here in town that they did a while ago. I let it go a couple of weeks before I drove over it. Yeah. That thing's been rusting, right? And they're plowing the salt and slush off the road, and it's like falling down, right? Like, I'm gonna let that one lay. I'm gonna take the detour into work for a while here.
It's like the underside of a Toyota Tundra. Jeez.
Yeah, no trust.
Hold on, we've got to talk about that in another slide. So the air filter thing, I live in the South, and I can tell you from probably the end of March to at least July, maybe August, you burn through air filters and cabin filters if you're maintaining your car properly, because there's just so much pollen, so much grass. I mean, there are times where we cut our grass every 3-4 days.
Right.
Because it's so hot.
Don't say that. Brian will be moving down.
I know.
Come on down, man. I got plenty for you to cut. There's just so much debris floating in the air. You can smoke an air filter, and obviously, and Brian will understand this, and diesel and heavy duty guys will understand this. You don't necessarily wait till the air filter's bad to replace it.
Yeah.
Because that's how you create other issues.
Yeah.
You always replace it before it's bad, right? Like if
Yeah.
you don't believe me, talk to the guy that comes and fixes your air conditioner at the house. First thing he's going to yell at you about is you're not changing your filters often enough. It's the same thing.
I mean, depending on the field around you, if you smoke an air filter, you probably shouldn't be driving.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't have any laws about that here.
Don't say that. Brian will be moving down there.
You make a great point with diesel because they move a lot of air. The modern diesel engine. Years ago, it was like, okay, I got a janky diesel and it's noisy and it's good on fuel and stuff like that. Now the things are like 450 horsepower, 1,000 pound-feet of torque. I change my air filter comes out every 3 oil changes, which is 18,000 miles. I only go 6,000 on my diesel with an oil that tests out pretty good. It's got my filter minder sucked shut at 18,000 miles. It's cooked, fried hard. It's done. Yep. And it doesn't look dirty because it's got like the Scotch Brite pad on the front of it. So it like kind of looks a little dirty. And then you look in between the pleats and there's really nothing in there, and you look over at the thing and it's like on the line between the yellow and the red at 18,000 miles.
That's the other interesting thing too. So can you put that slide back up for just a second?
Yep, I sure can.
So one thing that bothers me about any customer type marketing, if you're trying to reach the customer through any form of marketing, could we maybe use something that's still on the road? Because
Or
well,
or at least flip the air cleaner lid so it's kind of cool.
yeah. So in this case, first off, this is outdated, but second off, there's cars now that have air filters that are half the size of what the ratio, like engine displacement to filter size ratio, has gone down. So you used to have a small block Chevrolet as pictured, and you had this big round pleated air filter. The amount of filtering media that was there was a higher ratio than what we have now. So we have engines that are pulling more air because almost everything's forced induction now. It's almost hard to buy anything that's not
with
turbo.
variable. Yeah, and if it's not with variable valve timing, 2.4 liter moves as much air as a 350 Chevy ever did, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have a smaller filter that has more volume of air going through it on a higher output displacement engine, and that filter legitimately is smaller ratio to the displacement of the engine. I don't know why anybody would think that it would be absurd that you may need to replace the filter, but how do you know if you need to replace the filter?
I know, right? Like some of these ones,
you know?
these Hondas, I'm like looking at my cell phone, and like two of my cell phones is literally the size of the air filter for the Honda, right?
Well,
yeah. Why wouldn't you be replacing it all the time?
Yeah. So realistically, if I didn't want to replace it every time, how do I know it needs to be replaced? Well, that's where your professional service person, right?
Not the manual.
Inspects the car and tells you this looks like it'll make it through the next oil service. This doesn't look like it'll make it through the next oil service.
And if they're professionals, there'll be some evidence. It's evidence based. They're not going to be like, well, just cause. Or they shouldn't.
Yeah. What would that evidence maybe be?
Well, in Brian's case, the indicator. So if the system has that indicator on there. Another popular one is like the light test, passing a light through, or just looking at it. I mean, sometimes it's just that obvious.
Yeah.
Here's a new one. Here's the old one.
I just pull them out, and I have a diagnostic cart I keep in the front of my bay, and I just pull them out and bang them on the corner of that diagnostic cart, and percent of them leave a pile of dust on the ground.
Yep.
It's time to go.
Why don't we just blow it out with air, guys?
Oh, that's not how that works anymore.
I have a picture, Brian. Do you want to show?
Yeah, this is my wife's car that I don't really care about. There's the new filter on the left, and there's the I guess we were like some sort of insect farm going on the right there. That filter was in a 22 Kia Carnival for like 31-ish thousand miles.
Yeah, see, that's like
you got your money's worth, man.
That's like 8,000 in the South during spring.
Look at there's the air and there's the cabin air. That's Mr. Maintenance right here, boys and girls.
That's a maze worth of air.
That's a garage kept vehicle. So that thing collected those leaves being parked, at the grocery store, here, there, everywhere. You know what I mean? Wherever she
flying through the air as you drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could have got a better picture of the air filter. The amount of yellow jackets in that thing was alarming. It made me a little nervous.
Where is the air coming in? The front of the vehicle?
For the filter on the left. It comes in the front, but there's really no direct line of sight path to the inlet of the airbox on that vehicle. It kind of just sucks hot air from behind the left front headlight.
Yeah, depending on the car, Tracy, the fresh air intake may be bottom left corner behind the fog light. It may be in the middle of the grill. It may be higher up. It just depends.
Okay.
But it's typically in the front of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks.
Have you ever had a vehicle come in that's been to another shop? The complaint is it doesn't blow heat or it doesn't blow cold air for AC, and you get in it and it's been to the other shop and they've replaced stuff. Like they recharge the AC, they flush the heater core, they replace the blower motor.
Yeah.
And you get in it and you turn it on high speed for the fan.
And there's no airflow.
And you pull the cabin air filter out.
Why it doesn't get cold or hot. I'm like, what is going on over there?
Yeah, it's like the airflow is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are most of them filled with bugs like that? Like bugs?
I mean, they
Um,
they do after they leave our shop, but I
Yeah,
don't know about others.
most at our Sanborn shop, it's like leaves and bugs and stuff like that. In Lockport, rather, Sanborn is a lot of mice in Sanborn. I mean, you got to stay on the cabin air filters out in the sticks.
Yeah.
Lots of corn. We pull a lot of dried corn out of cabin air filters. Yeah, got to stay on them. And then a lot of times, what happens is if you don't stay on it, it piles up so high, whatever's on there as you pull it out falls into the blower motor, and then you've got another little project to tackle.
Oh, you mean you're supposed to get that stuff out? You're not just supposed to turn it into a noisemaker?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Ever since
Rats.
you did my air filter, my cabin filter, my dash shakes. Yeah.
Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. In the world of auto repair, every shop has its unique rhythm and challenges. At AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, they understand that one size does not fit all. That's why we offer personalized business coaching, tailoring our advice to meet your shop's specific needs. Transform your operations with strategies and tools to streamline your workflow, reduce waste, and skyrocket productivity. And when it comes to the numbers, we've got you covered. Our financial management guidance helps you master your finances from cash flow to profit margins, ensuring your revenue grows stronger. Every day, AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, empowering your shop to achieve more. Visit us at autoshopcoaching.com. Transform your team with today's class, where automotive training is easy, quick, and fun. Just 5 minutes a day on our app can eliminate hours of looking up forgotten information later. It's perfect for technicians, advisors, and managers alike. Keep critical knowledge fresh and top of mind, ensuring your team operates at peak efficiency. Today's class is impactful, accessible from anywhere, and a bit of fun too, and we're not talking about after-hours pizza either. For training that gets results, turn to todaysclass.com. This one is good. Priced windshield wiper fluid, and they're holding, there's nothing to do with fluid here. And the thing I have to say, Brian and Matt, when it's 30 below wind chill out, I don't think it says buy costly windshield wiper fluid offers no improvement in tidying up your windscreen over common varieties.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just simple liquid with some detergent.
Yeah. Come with me while I drive 20-something miles to work and it's -6 outside, and let me know how your cheapy windshield washer fluid
Man,
is.
we have
that,
that
or did they
problem.
research it at all? Like, did they take a bottle of wiper fluid, washer fluid, and just look at the ingredients? Did they see water and
Dawn,
Palmolive or Dawn?
You can smell the difference too when you open the cheap stuff.
You can taste
there's
it.
a lot
you shouldn't.
there's a lot of methanol in the nice stuff. You know what I mean? You get some of that ice buster stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of methanol in that.
You know, it's funny. You don't even have to be up where you guys are at. So we get just enough winter when we get into the teens, and people have some of the bigger service facilities use concentrate and they mix on site small batches of washer fluid. And then other people will just, like this slide. This is a real thing, by the way. I actually have customers that will do this. They will make their own washer fluid detergent, pour it in there. And then they're shocked when I have to sell them a washer reservoir, a pump, and lines because it froze and exploded.
You know it's where they get that from, Justin. They get it from the manual sometimes. No, I'm not kidding.
Which
I looked certain model year Toyotas, soap and water.
No.
Are we talking about 1975?
No, because I just had to prove it to somebody. I think I looked up like an 05 Camry or something like that.
Wow.
You
It might have
think
had a
would
note
at
about
least
freezing
do like
conditions,
laundry
but it is in
detergent
there.
so it doesn't suds up.
Yeah, it's in there, man. Soapy water.
Yeah, it's
The
just-
Kia manual says that
What?
too. And I think that's my wife's. I wish I had that right now. I could have sworn I saw it in there. I don't know. That might not be accurate, but I do know. I just had to prove it to somebody. It was on an older Toyota.
All right, let's do the next slide. Next slide. Octane boosters for standard vehicles. It says using boosters in cars designed for gasoline is pointless. They don't enhance efficiency in everyday driving. The motor is tuned for specific fuel types, so adhering to the suggested octane rating yields optimal outcomes. Interesting.
I think this is another definition one. Octane booster versus fuel system additive, right? GM recommends if you're not using top tier fuel to use an additive every, I can't remember how many thousand miles. They have case study pictures of valves. I questioned it. I was like, even on GDI engines, and I checked with the aftermarket liaison from General Motors, and he assured me that even though it's GDI with the exhaust overlap and everything, that it does make a difference.
I would say there are certain fuel additives
Yeah,
that
an additive, not
may
an
be
octane
beneficial in certain points, but like, is octane booster even still a thing? Do they even still sell octane booster?
I mean, I've seen it, but it's usually for classic cars that are, or not. I should say classic cars. I should say high performance vehicles that are modified.
I don't think we have actual octane problems since they put all them corn squeezins in the gas.
That's right.
That eliminated a lot of it.
That eliminated a lot of when they put all that ethanol in the fuel.
There's a lot less knocking going.
Yeah, there's a lot less knocking having, you know. So
yeah, that used to be kind of
really hear that happening. You don't get too many cars where you're driving them and the thing's just rattling away while you're driving it anymore, you know.
Yeah. It used to be more of like a symptom type thing where somebody's cards start pinging, so they would go up to the premium gas, which was higher octane, and then it wouldn't ping, and then they might go back to the regular, but then it would ping again. So then they just kept feeding it premium, and then after a while that didn't work. So they either went higher up if they could, or went in the store, got the octane booster, put it in. The entire time the problem was either carbon buildup, or timing, ignition timing. Like there was something
finally cleaned the mass airflow sensor.
Yep, there's something broken on the car. Yeah, I guess if I would relate it to anything, is on the flip side of this is if your car manual states it runs on 87 octane, there is really no benefit to running it on 91 octane or higher.
Yeah, you really don't. You don't see those problems anymore. And when you do, it's always on some old car where it doesn't have the strategy to recognize what the problem is. One that recently I ran into was like a 94 Corvette with an EGR valve that wasn't opening. Right. And the guy was, I poured 3 bottles of octane booster in it and it's still pinging because the EGR wasn't actually opening, but the car wasn't smart enough to recognize that. It was just rattling away in third gear, you know?
Yeah. So the bottom of that slide, I do agree with. Adhere to the suggested octane rating suggested by manufacturer, by the way. And I would encourage that people start paying attention to that because, like Matt said, if the car is designed to run on regular, whether that's 87 or 88, whatever market you're in, that's fine. But there's a surprising number of vehicles that want 89 or 91. And a lot of places don't have mid-grade that is 91. They have like an 87, an 88, and a 91. So you end up having to use the premium. Now, I live down here in God's country where we still have 93 octane. So
because you guys got stills down there.
Yeah, but we got
that's ours.
We have
reasons in ours.
Yeah, we have non-corn gas around here too. So,
and that's not a new. You know, Justin brings that point up. Well, that's not really something that's even super new, right? Would like a BMW 135i? Would that be a car that takes 91? Probably.
That is a minimum 91 RON. Which RON is a different calculation of octane than what we use in America. We use what's called RM2.
RM2.
And 91 RON is actually 92, 93 RON.
Right.
And so pretty much all modern BMWs require 91.
A 13-year-old vehicle that somebody goes and
Oh, you can go back further than that.
Right? Goes and buys one for a Sunday go to meeting car or something like that. And the wife's taking it and filling it up because she likes running her errands. And she's probably not educated on the idea, nor is he educated on the idea that it needs minimum 91 octane, right?
It's an issue for sure. And BMW's not the only one, but it is an issue
Sure.
enough that BMW actually tracks the quality of fuel that's put in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually run a test plan with a factory scan tool, and it will tell me what the quality of the fuel that's been used for the last 5 fill-ups, because it sees a change in the fuel level.
That's very German.
And then it sees an increase in fuel trims, and it makes the assumption that you have put grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 fuel in it, grade 1 being premium, grade 3 being regular. We actually do have a ton of like cold start and idle issues due to poor fuel quality. And it's almost always because we're putting lower than what's required. But it's not just BMW. There's tons of other manufacturers that
Absolutely.
you almost be shocked. I mean, if you pay attention to what it says on a little gas door when you open it, it might kind of shock you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, let's move on. This one is, well, wow. Ooh, she's pretty. Tire shine for longevity. Applying tire shine. I don't know where this came into this.
She
whole
hasn't
entire
applied it.
depth.
That thing's very.
Everybody knows that if you want to increase the longevity of your tires, you fill them with nitrogen. Next.
Oh gosh.
Okay, but she's using spray wax on the fender.
Yeah. Yeah, the picture has nothing
She
to
missed
do.
I didn't even
tire.
say I didn't think she was spraying.
Yeah,
I just knew that the tire wasn't shined. I'm like, oh, she ain't doing a good job.
shining the car, not the tires. It says applying
my
tire
God.
shine might enhance their appearance, but doesn't prolong their lifespan. Certain products can dry out the rubber, resulting in cracks over time. Keep its condition by using soap and water.
Man,
Anyway,
they like
we don't have to
water.
belabor this whole point, but it goes to show you how somebody would stop and look at this slide for a little while because she has some really pretty sneakers.
Are those Adidas? Sure are.
They are.
So that's like what it is. You either have like girls like this with cars or like someone dirty in like overalls. That's basically
Welcome
it. That's
to
what you
the
see.
2 classic
guys-
stereotypes
You
of
guys-
automotive repair.
You guys
trade.
remember the Toyota commercial from last year where they were like the independent service technician? Like he had like toilet paper hanging out of his pocket
Dude.
and he had grease all over his face.
Matt
He
and I
was
did an
putting-
episode
He
about
was
that.
putting duct tape on for a tire repair.
Yeah,
I'm
Matt
like,
and I
get
did
outta
an
here.
episode on that.
I've been in a dealership before. You fooling the
Right.
public. That's about it. You guys can't hardly fix breakfast.
Don't get me started. Just don't. Let's do the next one. Headlight cleaning kits. I mean, again, you talk about something that is describing what we don't see here in the picture. While foggy headlights, and I can't quite tell that they're foggy, need attention. Pricey kits are not always the answer. Many household items like toothpaste or baking soda can also do the job. Save your
Bug
money
spray.
and go for a DIY solution to restore the clarity of your headlights. Guys, how many headlight conditions have you done, Brian?
I don't do a ton of them, but when I do, it's the 3M kit because everything else leaves great.
Does it have
Next time
Colgate
you-
in it?
What's that?
Colgate.
Does it have Colgate in it?
I've never looked at the ingredients. I'm sure
It's
I have
Crest.
an MSDS on there somewhere.
Crest.
But
Yeah.
anything else doesn't work until the person's back for the next oil change. We're either, if it's a really expensive housing, we'll do a 3M kit. And if it's not a real expensive housing, we're just like, you know what, this ain't worth the time and effort. We'll just get you
Yeah.
some headlight housings.
Can we elaborate on why we do them though?
So you can see at night.
But in your state specifically,
Why do I do in my state?
don't you have a safety inspection?
Oh yeah, we do. But I don't think it covers cloudy. They can be cloudy.
They could be cloudy,
Wow.
but when you use the headlight aimer, and
Oh, they took that away from us. We don't aim
Oh, they
anymore.
took that away.
Not
Oh,
anymore. Yeah.
Okay, well that's stupid. But the
Why do
reason
they
that
get foggy?
Our safety inspection is
sandblasting driving around and
super
solar,
shoddy. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
they're
they get-
plastic, so they get bleached by the sun and they
Yep.
get sandblasted driving down the road. And
Yep, oxidized. And the issue with the toothpaste and the baking soda is it can clean them up. I don't know how really clear they get though. If you really do it the right way, when you're done, they're super clear. But if you use toothpaste and baking soda, it will clean them. It will make them better, but they don't last.
No.
No.
You have to put something on
like
there, like a varnish or a
yeah.
clear
Okay.
coat
Yep.
that's usually like UV resistant. Because if you use a non-UV resistant clear coat or varnish, whatever you want to call that, polish, they'll get hazy again in short order. It's
Mhm.
The right way
really
to do it is really to replace them. Otherwise, to restore them, it gets cost prohibitive because you got to spend time. You have to clean them, and when you're done, they're kind of foggy because you've essentially scratched them up really good.
Yeah.
And then you apply that, and maybe it's a poor choice of words, but kind of a varnish that's a little self-leveling, and then they come out. They're beautiful. Or you use a can of a clear coat that's UV resistant, and they come out beautiful. But man, if you spend an hour of time with a shop,
the prep time kills you because the stuff involved, you can't, that you get, you start messing with toothpaste or whatever they're going to use in that slide. If you get some on the paint, it's like, oh well. But like the 3M kit, the good stuff, you get that on the paint, you're in trouble. So now you're in a situation where you're taping off above the headlight, you're taping off below. If you can get below it, maybe you're pulling the headlight out because you can't safely do what you want to do with the design of the front bumper cover. It's like you said, if you go and you look up and headlight housings are $289 a piece, well, we're not buying a 3M kit and doing your headlight housings. If brand new ones are $289 a piece, it's not going to happen.
Hi, I'll be your $4,000 headlight assembly guy.
That's what I mean, depending on cost. Yep. You bring me a Benz with one, I'll restore them. Yes.
Yeah. We do a fair amount of them, but we still draw the line. I mean, if it's really bad, if it needed to be done 2 or 3 years ago, we'll warn you that it's not going to be perfect, but really in that case, they should probably be replaced. But I mean, ultimately, I don't think a lot of people understand the point of the cleaning is to regain that light output, because as a customer drives a car for years, they just kind of get used to those small incremental changes, right? How many times does it happen? We get in a car and there's a wheel bearing that is just screaming.
Exactly. Yep.
And they're totally used to it because they heard it start out.
Yeah.
It started out really minor
the tires
and progressed gradually. It's the same thing with light output on the headlights.
Yeah.
They're just used to driving around. They've slowly gone from like this to the next thing you know, it's like trying to drive as Ray Charles because there's just no light output.
Well said, guys and lady. Premium gasoline. Here we go back to premium gasoline for ordinary cars. Putting premium fuel in a car designed for standardized fuel doesn't boost its capabilities. You kind of discussed that a bit. Your car runs fine on the proposed grade, sparing you a few dollars at the pump for max savings and potential an optimal operation. Follow the manufacturer's guidelines. There we go. It's like go back to the book.
Yeah, which is okay. That's okay in this situation, but who's going to actually go look at the book?
But I think pay attention to, like Brian said on the earlier slide, and Justin, of course, for the rating, but also, like he said, for General Motors, if they're saying tier 1.
Yeah, top tier.
Make sure that it actually meets that, because if it doesn't, there's more stuff to do.
In my sprawling metropolis up here near Alcott Beach, New York, there is no top tier fuel to be had in this zip code or the next one south.
Really?
Yeah, there's no top. Well, I mean, we got 3 gas stations in 2 zip
so they only have 1 tank in the ground, right?
Yeah. They just redid the one in town. I was actually irritated. I had to go get gas cans to fill my lawnmower. Usually I drive up there.
If you pay at the pump, you have to put this slip of paper in there and slide the thing across.
No, the way he pays at the pump is he holds up a card that says, "My name is Bryan," and they just write it in the tab book.
Yeah.
That's how
they're out the window.
Got
like,
a notebook.
That Bryan? Yeah.
She got a notebook. Yeah, she's got a notebook in there of
Brian's page.
What for fuel at the end of the month, right? Yeah. That's not that far off.
Hi, Brian. Come in. It's been 2 months you haven't paid us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hashtag me too, Brian.
The country store. The country. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Petticoat Junction, huh, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like that.
Green Acres is the place to be.
It's a gas station, marina, hotel, and campground combination. Okay. Give me a break. Okay.
Auto care and barber
care and tire center.
Oh my God. Too funny. Next one, extended warranties. I don't know about you, but about every 20 minutes, I see an ad on TV for this. Extended warranties can be burdensome and unnecessary for cars known for their reliability. Most issues, if any, are covered under the standard guarantee. Access your car's dependability and forego if you're dealing with a model known for overpriced repairs.
I'm gonna get some flack on this one, but I'm gonna take the lead, guys.
I'm probably going to agree with you because I think
I know you are.
Yeah, you might.
I
not
am
flex
I
me
am not
either.
a fan of probably 90% of aftermarket extended warranties for the simple fact of they do not pay for things. They put some fluff on paper that make you think that you have these great, powerful insurance coverages on your vehicle. And then you come to find out that they cover a portion of something, but not anything related to getting to that specific item. So you end up putting $5,000, $7,000, $9,000 over the life of a loan for this package, ultimately to get little to no return when something does fail. Now, there are some exceptions. There's some good ones out there. For years, CarMax was known for their extended warranty. But I'm going to step out on a limb and say pretty much all the ones that have TV commercials I've dealt with, for the most part, they're garbage. They like to take the money, but they don't like to spend the money. They send an adjuster out to waste your time and argue with you and then say, well, we'll cover the oil pump, but we're not going to cover the oil pan gasket or the oil change because, you have to take all the oil out and the oil pan off to get to the oil pump. And we're not going to cover the alignment for the subframe.
That's what they call component level coverage.
Correct.
And they will list the exact components that are covered, right?
Yep.
And that's where you run into that. That's most of your basic warranties are like that. Now, if you get one, and I hate to name names, but like Ford Premium Care tends to be a relatively good one where they don't
so
do
now that's
arguing.
That's an OE sponsored, or at least a dealership sponsored. A lot of those are good, but the ones I'm referring to are the ones that are marketed directly to the consumer.
Yep, 100% agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know like the 5 names. Yeah,
we have a list of 40 of them that we don't deal with anymore, just because there's zero payout. I mean, honestly, if I could do one PSA to customers, especially if they're going to buy a used car or a certified pre-owned car, unless you were getting, like Bryan said, the Ford customer performance extended warranty through Ford or something similar from an actual vehicle manufacturer, not from, I don't want to mention a bunch of names, but again, if they have a TV commercial, chances are that's not the one you want because they end up pocketing your money and you get nothing out of it. And it's a battle.
So when they come in the shop, Matt, as an example, someone comes in and says, hey, I have an extended warranty from blank, blank, blank and do this job. Do you actually have to do a little preamble with them by saying, hey, listen, I want to let you know, we're going to quote this job. We're going to call the insurance company, but be prepared to swipe your card because you have a deductible, but there's also a lot that they won't cover. I just want you to know up front. Do you have that conversation?
The conversation I typically have is that they are going to pay us to evaluate the vehicle and do not count on that warranty company paying for that evaluation. 99% of the time, if nothing gets fixed on this car, you are going to pay us for the initial evaluation. You're going to be out this much money, bare minimum, and there might be nothing that gets fixed on the vehicle for that much money.
That is the way we always did it. We would always let them know that unless you are prepared for the fact that this is going to get declined or 50% of the job is not going to be covered, probably don't plan on using it. It's going to happen. And like I said, there are some good ones, but the amount of good ones is far, far less than the amount of mediocre and crappy ones.
It's like literally 2 to 80. I'm thinking off the top of my head, like the 2 that are like easy to deal with. I got 2 of them off the top of my head. And I got about 80 that are like, oh boy.
Yep.
Like,
I just wish customers would take that same money and shove it in a money market account and then be able to pick what they wanted to fix on their own vehicle rather than just giving someone that money to.
Yeah. And sometimes the other thing the consumer needs to be aware of is not only is it component level coverage, but I'm going to give you a great example. We had a Mitsubishi SUV with a CVT transmission. I can't remember. Maybe it was an Endeavor or something like that. I don't know. Anyhow, it was a Mitsubishi with a CVT transmission. And it was an older vehicle that they had been sold an extended warranty on. It was a newer vehicle for them, but it was about a 10-year-old vehicle. And in the fine print in that extended warranty contract, they will not pay out anything beyond Kelley Blue Book trade-in value on the vehicle. So they had a vehicle where the transmission, they had component level coverage. The transmission was covered. The cost of the transmission was high enough that they stroked him a check for the trade-in value of the vehicle and said, there you go, which was thousands short of what it needed. So even
instead
though
of
they
getting-
had this transmission covered, yeah, they still weren't covered. So that's another
Just-
thing you got to watch out for.
Let's move on. Next slide. Redundant coolant flushes. Though these are needed, it's much less frequent. The slide says that some service centers suggest the latest antifreeze formulations last longer, so this assistance can be a needless expense if your manufacturer does not recommend it, or there are no signs of coolant issues. What say you?
I mean, this is just Sorority's paradox. This is just a lesson in vagueness. What does that
Right.
mean? What is
Yeah,
less
what are
frequent than what?
Yeah, and what are signs of coolant issues? Like, how do you know you have a problem until you have a problem? Carm, you had the guy from Gates on. How many % of failures were coolant issues? Did the guy from Gates say? It was pretty high, wasn't it?
I'm trying to remember, but yeah,
I
here's
remember being shocked.
Yeah. The deal is, Brian, is they're taking alleged defective parts back because the warranty, the job wasn't done right the first time. I mean,
Right.
that's
The
basically,
Yeah, the coolant wasn't changed.
yeah. They didn't think of we were talking about sandblasting before. Think about the crap that's in the system. They put on a new water pump. Here comes the same old
All
coolant
this
and
space
destroys
junk.
it,
Yeah.
and the seal starts weeping again after 2 or 3 months because you didn't do it right.
Well,
Exactly.
it's back to the evidence based. Why do you want to change it? What's the pH? Is anyone measuring pH? Have you
No.
tested the test strips versus a pH meter and then tested that against, you can calibrate them for accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, of course, the concentration, which are we using the little floaty things or are you using a hygrorefractometer?
Specific gravity is the champ.
That's a medical term, the floaty things, isn't it?
The floaty thing.
It is. That is a NASA term, actually.
Now, do you use the little floaty balls or the discs?
I don't use any of them. Yeah.
At this
We
point,
have-
I'm not choosy about. The only thing you can get anymore is the discs.
We
Right.
use refractometers and pH meters.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm a big fan of electrolysis, but
There's a lot of
That
there's
gets
so much
tested as well.
there's so much misinformation there, and here's Ford, makes diesel pickup trucks and they cover their engines for 100,000 miles. They actually have a check coolant additive maintenance reminder. So when the manufacturer is on the hook for the repair, they say, hey, you need to check your coolant and see if you need to pour this additive in, right? When the manufacturer's on the hook for it. So what does that tell you? That they paid somebody to figure that out, paid a software coder to write some algorithm that turns a light on the dash to remind the people to put the additive in so Ford doesn't have to spend X amount of more dollars putting head gaskets in 6.7 power stroke engines. So there you go.
It's
then
AI, baby. Come on, the whole car should tell us what is needed next.
well, it depends on whose pocket the money's coming out of. Is it
Yeah.
cheaper for them to potentially under warranty have to add lubricity additive or head gasket of 6.7?
Yeah,
Brian, I love your analogy. And then before they put the light on the dash, they check the mileage.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Did the Gates guy talk about radiator caps and stuff like that, or coolant
No,
caps?
he didn't. No.
See, and I find that fascinating because the technical term for a radiator cap or coolant cap should be a degassing cap. And if you have a fluid like coolant driven by something like a water pump, which is a lot like a prop or propeller, you get cavitation. If it can't get rid of the gas, if it can't degas the system, it starts cavitating. And I don't know if you've done a lot of studying of the power in bubbles, but on some ships years ago, before they redesigned how the props were designed, if you were out in the middle of the water and it was dark at night and you looked down at the prop, you'd see flashes of light, and that's from the bubbles bursting. And that's a lot of it gets super hot, and we're talking like sun level. Okay,
hot enough to blow pinholes in the cylinder heads in cooling systems.
Hot enough to discolor stainless steel propellers, right? Any boat you ever go to look at that's got a stainless steel propeller that's got rainbows, that's not for cool effect. That propeller needs to be replaced because you've got a ton of cavitation going on there.
So hopefully the shop that's really testing your coolant for electrolysis, pH, concentration is also testing those caps and selling them regularly.
There's
That's
a
a great
forgotten
point.
item.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Good point, Matt. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oil additives for engine safeguard. The next slide. Oil enhancers pledge to shield your engine and boost its operation, but
You should
frequent
always remember.
changes.
Is that a milk jug full of water? He's
Yeah,
pouring
It
in
is.
water
You
yeah.
should
fluid?
always
Let's get
add
to the
water to
picture
the
here in a
engine.
minute. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure that's vinegar.
Oh,
my
if you're
goodness.
watching, if you're listening audio, you're not going to appreciate what we're showing up
Oh,
here on
my
the slide. Please
goodness.
watch this on YouTube. It says, but frequent changes with quality oil typically suffice. These additives can be extra, so rely on thorough upkeep routines and save money for necessities, and just the wrong picture to go with all the words.
It could be
Yeah.
crystal gravy.
Oh,
Now hold on. Doesn't this slide contradict the first one that says that unnecessarily changing the oil and oil additives and stuff like that? And now it's saying frequent oil changes.
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So
Never
I
the
think-
mind that we have Grandpa filling a what I can only imagine to be a washer fluid tank with a
On a
milk
Chrysler.
jug full of water.
yeah,
That is
know,
a Chrysler, ain't it?
When
is.
Tracy saw this slide, she saw that right away.
I'm most impressed with the color of the shirt. But anyways, for the people who don't know, oil is a certain percentage of base stock and a certain percentage of additive pack that fights heat, wear, acidity, so on and so forth. With these extended oil change intervals, an argument can be made for an additive that helps with that. That helps. What's that number? The TBN number that helps keep that TBN number at an acceptable level, the total base number, which is how they measure that additive pack. You could make an argument that oil enhancers, and me as a guy who's owned a lot of Power Stroke diesels, if I wanted my truck to run when it was cold, I was very familiar with using oil enhancers to prevent stiction in those oil operated injectors.
So it's conditional again, and it's just up to your kind of driving, the vehicle that you have, and the quality of oil that you're using.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for that. Undercoating for rust prevention. That's the wrong picture again. Undercoating is often considered essential, but modern vehicles come with sufficient rust defense from the factory. This extra layer is usually unwarranted, providing less safeguard than your car already possesses. What say you? Let's
All right,
go.
we're talking about the
I'm
paint
out on this one.
or
I'm out.
under the car.
This guy's
Brian
like
and I
buffing
have
the left rear
problems with
door.
this.
There, rust. You know what? You could put the undercoating there too if you've ever lived up here. The car could use the undercoating there also because it'll rust up to the door handles. I've seen them do it.
We
But
have them
anyway.
where they're undercoated and they just rust, and all that's left is the undercoating.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, yeah, right. There's different. Don't get me going. Woo, undercoating.
Two reasons why I'm not getting in this one. One, I live in the South, and two, the cars that I work on are known for oil leaks, so they have built-in rust protection.
Yeah, the driveway oiler.
It just blows back to the rest of the car.
Oh yeah,
Their
it's
neighbors,
front
their
to rear,
neighbors
it's
wonder
covered.
why they park on the grass. You can't park a Beamer on a concrete driveway. Who are you?
No. I was actually talking to Bryan earlier about this one, and I said, God, I can't wait till we get to this one because your car's literally returned to nature in like 4 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And not all undercoating is the same, right?
Exactly.
A paraffin wax-based undercoating and an oil-based undercoating are have very different effects, right? A used car sales place will use an undercoating to help with appearance, but does more long-term damage in my experience. We do some undercoating at the Lockport shop, a fair amount of it actually. There's definitely good products out there. I use it personally on my vehicles. I have them undercoated by our Lockport shop. We have really good luck with it compared to untouched vehicles, which right now I think the newest one we condemned was like a 2016 Silverado with unrepairable frame damage.
Yep.
We have a 2016 recently where the modern vehicles that come with sufficient rust defense didn't make it 10 years.
Yeah.
So
And you have some great words, rust defense. I just love your sophisticated way.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what they said.
Wow,
I quoted
love
them.
that.
Modern vehicles come with sufficient rust defense.
We find that people that regularly take their car to the car wash and understand that beginning, you don't race across the blast of water underneath.
Oh
that
yeah,
you
the chassis bath, baby.
just kind of take your time a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and actually let that thing wash the salt and whatnot off of the vehicle. It helps immensely.
Mm-hmm.
Is it perfect? By no means, but it's better than some of these undercoating alternatives.
Gotta
Yeah,
get it
Why
out of
would
there.
is that something where a customer like specifically comes in, Brian, is like, I would like you to do this service? And
Yeah,
why would they
yeah.
want that done?
Because it's primarily pickup truck owners, and pickup trucks are ridiculously expensive. They have $90,000 pickup trucks, and they're looking for them to not rust for the however long they're going to own them.
And it's underneath the whole car?
Oh yeah,
Like-
it's everywhere. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
little
depending
rods
on-
we get in the frame. Some of them, if they don't have spots in the door yet, we'll actually take and we'll drill holes in the bottom of the door where you can't see it, and stick a wand in there and spray the inside of the door. And we pull
On
the
the
taillights.
inside.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. We pull the taillights, the headlights. We have wands we stick in the frames and the cross members. We
And it's clear?
the stuff we use has a little bit of a brown tint to it. They do have clear stuff. I really like the stuff we use. It really holds up well. I just over the years, I just take pieces of steel, and when a salesperson comes in with a different product, it gets sprayed and it sits out in the backyard for a year, and we just see what it looks like.
And you're doing it underneath the vehicle?
Yep.
Like
Underneath.
looking up?
Yep.
So is yours oil based, or does it dry to a thick candy shell?
Oh, ours is oil based because that
Yeah, that's what I
stuff that
figured.
dries rust vehicles faster.
It's
But that's a
terrible.
different story.
That has to
Yeah.
be really tough to work with, that type of.
Yeah, I don't know. We got people.
You wear
who
like a
do that,
mask and
Tracy.
stuff?
Yeah. They have a mask and ventilation, and there's a curtain that drops down around so it doesn't get on the other vehicles around. And there's a dedicated bay with dedicated equipment and an exhaust fan and everything else. And that's what they do over there.
We have seats in there because we market it as aromatherapy.
They go through them filters for the masks like crazy. I mean,
I know, it's crazy.
I tell people all the time, I go, don't mess around with that. You need to put your mask on, and they're good about it.
Their lungs won't rust.
Yeah. Yeah. They won't breathe either, I don't think.
All right. Let's go to the next one. I have seen more little Subies with installing a custom exhaust system. It says in an ordinary vehicle for performance gains frequently yields minimal improvement. Except if you want noise and look really bad and looking for chicks. The cost to benefit ratio is low unless you're modifying a car for racing. Enjoy your car as it is, or invest in the upkeep. What say you?
If you want it to have more power, first thing you got to put stickers on it. It's not the exhaust.
Just the entire back glass has to be nothing but stickers.
This just reminds me of kids in high school reading a Jags magazine going, oh, if I put these manifolds on, I'll get 40 more horsepower.
As I slide my Jags magazine out of camera view.
Right, but you probably understand, like,
I feel a little attacked.
Yeah, I know. I feel like he was attacking me.
Yeah, it's not just the exhaust system. It's how do we help the entire vehicle or engine, powertrain, engine move more air? None
of it's legal beagle up here anymore anyhow, so I'm not really interested.
I don't know. Custom exhaust. What does that mean? On a regular car, I don't know what's going to be so custom besides like the chrome tips.
But this is all DIY stuff. You guys aren't doing this stuff in shops, are you?
No,
I can't tell you the last time I put a non-factory exhaust system under a car at customer.
You don't want that customer anyways. The first thing they do is show up with a torpedo level and make sure that even though the car is parked on crooked ground, that the tailpipes are level. It's too much.
Is that before
I can't even deal with it?
Tell you that the valve stem caps aren't all pointing in the same direction.
Oh my gosh. It's the worst kind of work to do. Not interested.
True story.
Oh, man.
All right, next.
Not interested.
We have two more slides. The overpriced dealership oil changes. Dealership oil changes can come with a hefty price tag compared to local mechanics. Is that true? Or doing
Sometimes it's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite.
If your car is under warranty and requires servicing, you can economize by shopping for the best oil swap deals. I don't get any of that.
It's the exact opposite, like Matt
said.
There's
that really recognized oil.
A good aftermarket repair facility is oftentimes more expensive than the OE for an oil change. I hate that word, but an oil service, because the dealership is primarily targeting on price. So they land blast these coupons to get the cars in, hoping to fish for work. they're not, I mean, because they're on a cookie cutter assembly line, get it in, get it serviced, get it inspected, get it out. They're not really doing that good of a job inspecting the cars.
No.
But neither here nor there. I can tell you right now, like the shop I used to work at, we were considerably more money than most of the dealers for an oil service.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and it goes both ways too, right? Like you have to, when you go with this one, when you choose an independent shop, you need to choose. There's different. They're not all created equal. Some shops have one type of filter on the wall from one filter manufacturer, and that's it. Some of us we have different filters for this car. There'll be 6, 7, 8 different manufacturers or boxes anyways of filters on the wall, because I know for this vehicle, this was the OE supplier for that filter. So that's the one I'm going to put in it. Some of them are using one size fits all oil. You got to be careful with that.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. I mean,
the overpriced dealer is putting the right oil in there.
Guaranteed.
Inexpensive indie shop is using whatever they bought on sale from O'Reilly.
Yeah. Have you tried to put oil in a 2023 Land Rover? Like it's like Alien. I had to read for a half hour to find some oil, and the closest oil was in Pennsylvania. I'm like, hey, you're going to have to leave your Land Rover overnight because I can't put this other oil in there.
The shop never turned the bottle around and read the back. It says Euro approved, but there's no mention of BMW on there.
Yeah.
You know,
twin power turbo oil is a great example, right?
I love meets so-and-so specification. All right, cool. I want to see approved.
Suitable. Yes. Suitable for use and approved for are two very different phrases.
And I don't think it's an issue like it used to be, but LL04 was better than LL01.
Well,
that's what they thought.
Yeah,
that is what they thought, but
it was wrong. And there's a lot of data supporting it was wrong.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
But it's like, 04 is higher than 1. It's got to be better. So we just use that.
So long story short, a dealership typically is not the most expensive place to get the oil changed if you're comparing it to somebody else who's putting the proper oil and proper filter into the car, in my opinion. Unless that independent shop likes to lose a ton of money on oil changes. And we all know it's no secret that a lot of us don't make a ton of money on an oil change, but you can charge $100 for an oil change and you can lose money pretty quick depending on the badge on the front of that vehicle.
Yes.
You can literally be upside down before your labor cost and your loaded cost. Yeah, there's that.
Absolutely, guys. Final slide. I should have taken this one out, but that's interesting. I don't get fancy detailing here. Professional detailing can make your car look fantastic, but they are incredibly costly. Instead, invest in the quality cleaning supplies. With time and effort, you can achieve similar results by washing, waxing, and vacuuming your car. Duh.
I kind of wonder if they're just trying to say, like, because there's many service facilities that you can add on a detail at the end of the service.
Sure.
I assume that's what they're going after for this slide. But if you don't want pie, don't order pie.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I mean, the videos are pretty awesome to relax to before bed.
Where they take the toothbrush to like the air vents.
Yeah, and the paintbrushes. And then they have like the air hammer to the carpet.
Yeah, the orbital sander.
Yeah.
They take an orbital sander and it like vibrates the dirt up. I actually bought an orbital sander from Harbor Freight because I'm going to do my truck and see if that works. Yeah.
Look, it depends on the time you have, the money you have, the kind of vehicle you have, how long it's been since you actually took a rag to the dashboard,
how much your dog sheds.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like anything. If you have something professionally done, it's usually more expensive than what you could have did it yourself, but you probably aren't going to do it as well.
Right.
And
100%.
You take your car to get detailed and it's a couple $100, but it looks great. It smells great.
It's the word fancy. I think we're all missing the word fancy.
Fancy.
Damn.
Fancy.
There's the word.
That's fancy.
Fancy.
Can look fantastic.
Tomorrow I'm going to get a fancy detail.
I didn't see that on the menu.
I don't remember Reba singing about the fancy detailing.
Fancy. Yeah,
oh my.
Yeah, I would love to know what the thought process behind this whole presentation was.
Yeah.
It's probably
all over the place.
They had a deadline and they raced to the end. So I sympathize.
It's probably written by somebody who lives downtown that takes public transportation.
Well, let's go back to the original title. This was it: 15 car maintenance ripoffs
Oh my
that
gosh.
you should avoid.
See, I hate that buzzword
Yeah,
right
and
there.
that's the
rip
come
off.
on. That's where people are going to. Oh my God, I got to go out and make
Mhm.
sure I don't get ripped off.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it from a professional perspective, you could take out of the 14 slides, 11 of them that have no relevant to rip off because it's all conditional. It's what you want.
Yeah. And the other 3 had the wrong picture. So what kind of article is this?
Yes, exactly right.
And and that's an unfortunate thing. Like Tracy said earlier, when we got to the tire shine picture, because apparently everybody except me missed the fact that she was spraying the fender.
I didn't see it at first either,
It's
Joe.
kind of one of the stereotypes of marketing in the automotive repair. It's like the grease monkey or the attractive woman, or it's exquisite dealer level maintenance, or it's a ripoff. That's the only 2 ways it goes. There's never anything in the middle. There's no middle ground. It's kind of garbage. And like I said earlier, Matt and I talked about that before we did a podcast on, what did you call that thing, Matt? What was that podcast? Stereotype, something poor stereotypes the automotive. We talked about movies. It was really about the movies.
Well, we got to do another one because I just saw a clip from a TV show.
I just saw this presentation that, I mean, it's an unfortunate reality. That's what we deal with is, if a customer doesn't understand, or anybody on the outside of doing the work does not understand point, premise, and reason for something being done or for something being a charged service, it's immediately classified as a ripoff.
Yep.
Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why you're charging me an aeration fee, Mr. Landscaper. Do you like your grass being green? That's why I'm charging you that, because I got to punch little holes all over your yard. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Soil
but
compaction.
If they don't, exactly. If they don't understand, that's typically the way it goes. It's a really fancy car, or they're just trying to rip me off. That's the only 2 ways that goes if they don't understand. I don't.
Yeah, right.
I guess it goes without saying that the service advisor, the client advocate, needs to be sure that if there's a required service inside of one of your maintenance programs, we got to do this, they explain it. And someone doesn't walk away by saying, I overpaid for something, and I think I got something I shouldn't have gotten. You got to tell them about it.
Explain it, quantify it, and show them the evidence. Not, oh, well, we do this for all the cars. Show me why my car needs
because
that.
I said so. Yeah,
exactly. Right.
Yeah,
but
that's not
the good news is that DVIs have helped a lot with that. There's a lot more show and tell going on with DVIs.
Yeah.
Matt mentioned there's a bunch of fluid maintenance things that are done just based on mileage in a lot of cases, but there are tangible, quantifiable tests that can be done to prove whether that fluid's still serviceable or not. Bryan mentioned sending oil out to Blackstone Labs. We've sent oil out to Blackstone Labs for years to get an oil analysis to find out whether we could go another 1,000 or whether we needed to back off 1,000.
Yeah.
Same thing with testing coolant and testing.
In the fleet and trucking industry, I mean,
Absolutely.
sending oil out for analysis is pretty normal.
Standard.
Right?
It's
standard.
Yeah, that's what tells you whether it's time to rebuild the engine or not, because you don't get a lot of warning with a big motor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a there's a huge difference in those failures, whether you catch it ahead of time or let it go, right?
It's education and communication, but I hate that stereotype that it's, like I said, it's always either, well, it's just the way it is because it's a Jaguar, or it's a ripoff. Like, I can't stand that, but that's just the nature. That's what we have to, that's one of the things that we have to battle daily.
It's definitely tough too, because like a lot of us, like we literally I don't have time to rip somebody off. I've got scads of actual broken cars. So if I'm telling you your car needs something, like I promise you, like there's an issue, I'll show it to you.
I don't have enough time to be that creative. Like,
well, and it's a horrific long-term business strategy.
Yeah,
it's just horrific.
Yeah, right. It makes no sense to do that to people.
Hey, we got to find another one of these and get back together and do another one. They're all over the place, by the way.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
They are absolutely everywhere.
We just watched Scotty Kilmer, man. Trash him.
Justin's gonna pass out.
You started out the episode talking about these so-called experts, and a lot of these things, these articles, the TV shows, or
don't get us going,
news magazines and all that, they're called consulting an expert. And I don't know if I've ever recognized a single expert.
Yep.
Like, where did you find this person?
Well, a lot of it too is it's filler space. You know, back when in the 20th century, when people still read newspapers regularly, you had articles that were designed to fill space on the layout. Now they just do it to draw attention to the website. It's clickbait. It's
clickbait.
fill space,
like the word rip off.
and that's a buzzword that gets people to read. Oh, it's just like all the attack pieces we've talked about over the years, Matt. All these hit pieces on the news. It's just a way to get you to put in your hit or put in your view or put in your rating so that we can have more traffic into whatever we want.
Yeah,
So
it's clickbait. The thing I worry about is a consumer looks at this and then they show up at your shop 3 or 4 days later with this in the back of their mind.
Oh,
And they're
100%.
Yeah, and they're thinking they're getting ripped off, no matter what it is that they read, no matter what they think they saw, that they don't even want to bring clarity. He says, "Hey, Brian, you're my great friend. I trust you with my car. Tell me, I'm going to show you this. It's gospel. Just there it is.
Yeah.
it's printed. It must be correct, right?
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
incorrect
On the
ever.
web.
Printed.
It was on the interwebs.
Yeah,
It's got to
on
be
the web.
true. Yeah.
It's not on the dark web. It's on the bright web.
Yeah, it's on the regular one. Yeah.
I have my brightness all the way up.
Yeah.
I think we got to
crazy.
educate. I think we got to educate the clients too, the vehicle owners, that you should want some evidence as to why something should be done. But on the flip side, you may want to start asking for evidence when something should not be done.
It's a great point.
And my example, the easiest example that pops into my head is, I suppose we could relate it to oil, the type of oil, but the more obvious one to me is ADAS calibrations. When you call up a shop for an estimate on an alignment, they give you like a $600 estimate. And you're like, for an alignment? Oh, well, per this manufacturer, they require that after the alignment is changed, we have to calibrate this camera, this radar, whatever. Then they call shop B, they get a quote from the alignment for $99. And they're like, well, shop A wanted $600 for an alignment. And shop B is like, $600, my God. What were they doing? Well, they said after they did the alignment, they had to calibrate these cameras for my, lane keep or adaptive cruise control. And shop B goes like, well, we've been doing alignments for 30 years. We've never had to do that. We've never had a problem. And they go with shop B. They're the honest ones.
Are you ready for this?
Instead of, where's the evidence?
Half the time, shop B is the service writer in the OE manufacturer's service department.
That's true.
Oh,
I can't. Don't get me going on how many service writers will state it from the dealer, will say exactly the opposite of what is in the service manual from the manufacturer and say that shop's a ripoff. We do these all the time without doing that. Yep. Who are you to decide that? It's in the service manual that you have to do these steps. If the thrust angle on the vehicle has changed, or however, some of them don't even give you that option. Some of them are like, if you do an alignment, you have to do this.
Yes.
You have no choice. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
And those of us that understand angles and how this works, a lot of it's based off thrust angle. The manufacturer assumes if you're doing a 4-wheel alignment, their thrust angle is going to change somewhat. So you're going to have to do this. But who the heck is the service writer without seeing the vehicle to tell them it doesn't have to be done? Like, who the heck is that guy?
And the tech running the alignment machine is clicking past the same warning the other.
Oh my gosh, the tech doing the alignment there, they're either doing a drive-by alignment, printing out somebody else's specs, or they're taking a screwdriver to the head to make it look good so he doesn't actually have to do anything. Come on,
Brian, you're not supposed to give away trade secrets like that.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, buddy. I cut my teeth at the dealer doing warranty alignments. They had something called a drive-by for when you didn't actually have to do one, where you drove on by.
It's unfortunate, and my hat's off to service writers, the good service writers. We may give them crap a lot. We do. There's always a front counter, back counter thing, but they're the ones that have to try to deal with and educate the customers on the front line. But then to the flip side of that, just like on our side, 10% technicians ain't that great. 10% of service writers are terrible. Now, where they reside, that's up to Brian, but
I'm just giving an example that triggered me from personal experience.
It's an accurate one. We've sent cars to the dealer for warranty stuff, and when it was on their dime, oh no, we don't have to do that. But then I open the service manual and I don't see anywhere in the service manual, in the factory repair instructions from that manufacturer, that says anything about whether it's custom repair or warranty, this gets done or doesn't. It says, if you remove this and reinstall it, you have to do this. So summarize for customers, like, I'm totally okay with, and I don't know any service writers that won't get on board with, customers ask why. And again, the DVIs help with that a lot. DVIs help because you have empirical evidence. As long as the customer knows what to look for. I've seen some DVIs from some, not just dealerships, but like really busy, big corporate stores, where they're like, well, yeah, they're over here with their phone, right? And there's like, well, you see that? The brakes, they're kind of worn out, and they're like showing you a picture of the tire, much like the slide we had earlier with the tire shine deal.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so the fender's shiny, but you said it needs tires.
Yeah, right.
Hey guys, Matt, especially, you were talking about lane keep, adaptive cruise, and the total importance of having to do the calibration. What if you told that customer, well, listen, no, I don't want to spend that extra money? Is that car going to be forgiving and still make it feel and seem like it's working right, even though there's been an alignment shift?
It depends. Some of them will not. So some of them, if you do the alignment and nothing with calibration, and it's usually a little on the more extreme end, that lane keep doesn't work right. Instead of buzzing as you're getting pretty close, or I guess I'm speaking generically there, buzzing or correcting or beeping at you, whatever the warning is that you're exiting the lane, you're getting too close to either the fog line or the center line. Instead of it doing that when you're starting to get close, it's either early or we're really late. There can be cases on the extreme end of, if you have an adaptive cruise where it's going to be maybe 3 car lengths, but the radar is off and you're coming up behind a small vehicle or motorcycle, it doesn't see it until you're 1 car length. So there's a reason they ask you to do it. And I guess I don't know if I have a lot of good examples other than those two.
I've got one from support today, actually. Cars at a shop that we work with, and customer's complaint is exactly what Matt's talking about. Lane keep to the left is very lethargic. Lane keep to the right, spot on. Come to find out, 6 months ago, the car had a bumper and a headlight put in it. Guess what wasn't done at the body shop? It's a 2013. So it's early ADAS system to begin with. But there's no fault codes and there's no warning messages. But the customer knows that if they start drifting to the left, that car doesn't alert them. If they drift to the right, it alerts them every time. And they went, something's not right here.
And there's all sorts of effects that people don't realize with that too. Like an older Infiniti that I was dealing with that happened to have a lane keep assist problem that was eating the right rear brake pads off of it.
That happens a lot.
Because they used to use the rear calipers instead of, because you didn't have electric power steering. So it would, if you're too far to the left, it'll hit the right rear brake. There's a car, something didn't get aimed because somebody didn't think it needed to be aimed. And it was, the guy's like, I've been putting, this thing gets brake pads every 2,500 miles on the right rear. Nobody can figure out what's going on. They've put a caliper, hose, hydraulic controller, master cylinder. They've put everything in my car.
$6,000 worth of parts.
$6,000 worth of parts.
$600 worth of calibration.
Yeah, because nobody calibrated it.
If it's referenced to the center line of the vehicle, and then the systems themselves are continuously kind of modifying themselves. All right, just tweaking. And now the center line coming off the line, or the first time it was aligned and calibrated, ADAS calibration properly, everything lines up nice. But now over time, through wear and tear or a couple of hits, hitting the curb a couple times, whatever it is, throws alignment off a little bit, and is driven, and things tweak a little bit to line it up again. You're now changing that center line. It's not referenced to the center line anymore, the actual center line anymore. You've changed it. So it has to be off. Now, over time, depending on the system, it may slowly adapt, but that's the key word, slowly. And how fast is that?
And it's not really information that's released to the owner's manual level or the service counter level anyways, right? So
and
it's not our decision to make when service information says to do something. Kind of have to do that.
It can't be ignored, and I don't know if it's because nobody's thought of bringing it up or pursuing it or whatever, but it's not like we're hearing about a whole bunch of car accidents happening when the vehicle's being using something ADAS related, and we find out, well, it was serviced and procedure wasn't followed either by an independent shop, a collision shop, or a dealership.
We're not hearing about it.
We're not hearing about it. So there's
no investigation.
Be
there's no investigations going on that says, hey, what could have really happened here because this person went off and hit a pedestrian on the side of the road because they weren't warned.
I have a theory, and I don't know that it's correct. That's why it's a theory, that there are accidents that have faulty ADAS or improperly calibrated or whatever, but they are oftentimes attributed to just gross driver negligence. Because again, these are, unless you're driving like a Tesla or something else that has PSD or FSD, which is partial self-driving or full self-driving, they are assistance systems.
Exactly.
They are not artificial intelligence. So it's not unrealistic to think that, okay, they were playing on their phone or they were drunk or whatever, and they veered over and kept going even though the steering wheel was vibrating, or they kept going even though the car was buzzing at them. It's not going to stop all the accidents. I wonder how many of them have happened and could have been avoided, proper calibration, but have maybe been written off from just gross negligence of the owner.
This is a great dialogue. I'd love to have an injury attorney on and ask the injury attorney this. So how deep are you going into calibration when it comes to look for faults in an accident?
Right.
I mean, it's the reality is even though we haven't seen it, do you want to be the first one?
Exactly.
The service manual, the procedure
I'm not going to
says,
find out.
If you do this, you should do that. I don't want to be sitting there in front of a group, 12 of my peers, telling them like, well, I haven't had a problem until now.
I did a drive-by.
Yeah. And the attorney is simply like, can you read this?
Yeah.
Did you do a wheel alignment? Yeah. What does it say you should do after that? Did you do that? No.
Is it also not true, Mr. Fanslow?
Yeah, you're definitely cooked.
Yeah.
You're cooked.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt something's going to happen. An unfortunate thing is going to happen. And the investigation is going to be done, and it's going to slap some people upside the head, and we're going to go back to what is right, not fast.
And it's probably not a perfect comparison. It's probably flawed, but you go back to that John Eagle case where that collision shop used a industry accepted practice of reattaching that roof. They didn't half-ass it. Using epoxy, that is an industry accepted procedure.
Yeah, they did something that was taught in classrooms.
Yes. Many people have done it. It went to hell in a handbasket when this is not the manufacturer's procedure. Done. They were done. They lost. It's over. And this is not unlike that. If something would happen and they can backtrack it to you, that you were the last one that had the ability to calibrate this system that it blatantly says in service information to do, and now you're sitting in a courtroom and you skipped
on the
it.
invoice. Yeah,
you skipped it because the customer didn't want to pay an extra $300, or you didn't want to charge them an extra $300, or you didn't want to buy the systems to do it, or you didn't want to sublet it out to have it done. I don't. What's your defense?
Or worse, you got that, like Bryan said earlier, the drive-by, you just fudged it.
Yeah.
Guys, lady, thank you so much for this. I love where this dialogue went. It was kind of the impotence of having this ripoff show in order for us to talk about ADAS calibrations, drive-by, and all this stuff. So great dialogue. Thank you all so much. We've got to do it again. Matt Fanslow, Justin Morgan, Ryan Pollock, and Tracy Capriotto, and me. Good to have you all here. Thanks.